Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mir Zahir Abbas. I am the Operations Manager of SciSec. Welcome to today's webinar, The Regular Ground Rules. All attendees to the webinar will be on mute by default. We will have a Q&A at the end of the presentation. You can type your question on the chat window and it will be responded after the completion of the presentation. We are also going to record this webinar and the recording will be uploaded on the SciSec YouTube channel, so you can always refer back to the video later if necessary. This webinar is part of a weekly series titled Samgajadvam, May We All Progress Together. The objective is to cover different topics of security over the course of this series. We want to provide a conceptual overview in this webinars to the various aspects of security and hope this will kindle your interest to explore further. This is the 14th webinar in this series. The topic of today's webinar is Introduction to MITRE ATT&CK Framework. We have another interesting webinar next week on cybersecurity for power and energy infrastructure. This will be by Professor Abhijit Srisagar from IIT Dharwad. We will open the registration for this webinar shortly. We will have more webinars lined up over the next few weeks, and I hope you will find this series of webinars useful. Do let us know if you have any feedback as well as any ideas to share with us. As usual, we will have an assessment made available at the end of webinar. The assessment will be kept open for 60 minutes after the completion of the webinar. The questions are from the topic covered during the webinar, so you should not have too much difficulty in cracking this assessment. Those who get 9 or more correct out of 11 questions will be provided the certificate of achievement, and for others it is certificate of participation. At the end of assessment, you will also be asked to provide the feedback of the webinar. Please provide your genuine feedback and rest assured the feedback will not have a bearing on the assessment. You need to have a Gmail ID to take this assessment. Please make sure you provide your details accurately when taking the assessment, because the certificate will be generated based on the details provided by you. The link for the assessment will be shared at the end of the webinar in Q&A section. Also note that the assessment is open to only those who have participated in the webinar. Those who successfully complete the assessment will be provided a certificate of achievement, and those who have attended the webinar but could not take the assessment will also be provided a certificate of participation. Let me now introduce the speaker for today's webinar. It is great to have Kirtar Oza with us today. Kirtar is CISA, CISSP professional with 13 plus years of experience in various domains of cybersecurity. Kirtar currently works as a cyber threat specialist at a service provider in Australia that works with major banks. Previously, he has worked at Sydney Airport, Qualys and Infosys. Kirtar to have worked in India, UK, Norway and Australia, and he has worked with organizations all across the world. Aside from this, Kirtar has published multiple articles in LinkedIn and security.affairs.co. He specializes in IR, SIEM, Splunk, DevSecurity Operations, and MITRE ATT&CK Framework. Now I will hand over to Kirtar to take you through the next part of the webinar. Over to you, Kirtar.
Yeah, thanks, Abbas. So let me share my screen. Thanks for the introduction. And okay, so let me put this. Please let me know once you are able to see my screen.
Yes, we are able to see the screen.
Okay, cool. So good evening, everybody. My name is Kirta Rosa, and we will talk about we will talk about the MITRES attack today, and it will be an introduction to the MITRES attack framework. And without wasting too much of time, let's get into this. So let me start with the setting the expectations here. So today we are going to talk about MITRES attack. It will be an introduction and overview of MITRES attack. Then we will talk about the various components of attack, and we will not get into the too much of technical weeds here. So because that is not the intention of this webinar. The objective of this webinar is to give the overview of MITRES attack, and for those people who want to get started with attack, because you know for last few years, like MITRES attack has been become a de facto standard for developing and building the detection capabilities. So I'm sure who have been working into cybersecurity or incident response, they must have heard of attack here and there, but they want to get started. They are not aware, or they are not too much of comfortable with the components. How what is the structure of attack? How to read MITRES attack, and how we can utilize that framework in our favor. So this discussion or this webinar is deliberately kept simple and at the high level. And if you want to get into the technical actions, technical weeds, you can request SciSec team. They can, have a, we can set up the workshop in the 1 day, 2 day workshop for, some technical stuff where we can actually get into the, some technical things, and I can set up the labs and all that but that is something which we need to do separately. In this webinar, we won't touch up much technical things. So this is the expectations. I'm setting up the expectations right now so that at the end of seminar or during the seminar we don't face any disappointment with respect to what to expect and what not to expect from this seminar. So let's get started with the discussion. So I'll start with the background of attack. So attack was developed by MITRE, and MITRE is a non-profit organization, private organization in the US, which was established in 1958 to provide engineering and technical guidance to the federal agencies. So since then, they have been working with all the federal agencies at the highest level, at the intersection of the advanced technology and national security concerns. So, and at the same time, federal government also provides a lot of funding to these guys through federally funded research and development center. It is called FFRDC. So through this program, these guys are getting grants and the funds, and they are supporting and guiding federal agencies in terms of advanced technologies. And MITRE is also working in cybersecurity as well, big time. And they started a project called FMX. Now I'll take you through how the attack was born actually. So they started a project called FMX to investigate the use of endpoint telemetry data and analytics to improve post-compromise detection of adversaries. So they started this project, and they felt the need to document the common techniques and the behavior which was displayed by advanced persistent threat against the Windows Enterprise. So basically, they felt they need to document common behavior from the adversaries, and they started putting down all these various TTPs into the spreadsheet. So they started in Excel, And 5 years later, it has become the de facto standard for developing the building the detection capabilities. So this was started in 2013 as a spreadsheet, and then, as I said, it grew into a de facto standard. So this is background about the Mitre attack, how it was born, and let's move into the agenda. That was a little background about attack. Now we are going to discuss what is attack, why attack was needed, why it has got the wide acceptance in the industry. Then again, as I said, we will talk about the attack components. Then I'm going to show you one demo, one sample technique, and this is again just to give you an idea and the indication how attack can be utilized or implemented, or how it can be leveraged. And then we are going to talk about attack navigator. Then we are going to talk about attack navigator use case in cyber threat intelligence. And then finally, we will conclude this webinar with discussing the approach, how to actionize attack. Now, attack is a huge thing. We have got 300 plus, various techniques in attack, which we are going to discuss in a while. But implementing all 300 techniques at a go is not a sane approach, or it cannot be possible as well. It's not possible. So we will have to take a strategic approach, how actually we need to prioritize and what approach we can take for our organization in order to effectively implement the attack framework. So that would be the last topic of discussion. So let's start with the first topic of agenda. What is attack anyway? So in simple terms, attack is nothing but the repository of attackers behavior. So if we go one step below to this definition, so attack is a globally accessible knowledge base of adversary techniques based on the real world observations. So if you see the underlined item here on this slide, tactics, techniques, and based on real world observations. So these are the key words which I would like you guys to focus on. So the key components of attack framework are tactics and techniques, right, which we are going to discuss in later slides. But just for now, just remember tactics and techniques, which are the key components of this Mitre attack framework. And the second thing is this database is built based on the real world observation. So there is no hypothetical or hypothesis involved. There is no theoretical thing involved into this. So all the things which have been seen in the past, which has been executed or which has been carried out by adversaries or attackers or whatever we say, cyber attackers, or they might be actually right now carrying out. So those things, those techniques, tactics, procedures, are collected or collated as a part of this database or knowledge base, whatever we say. So it's a repository. In short, it is a repository, or it's a knowledge base, or it's a library, or it's a database of attackers' behavior. So if you want to understand what attackers has been doing, in the past or as of now, what techniques they are using, what tactics they are using, right, to get into your network or even to target the organization, we should refer to attack framework. One more thing, they provide the common language. So we are going to see this again in the later slide, but attack provides the common language between the various teams in the organization. So you might have red team, blue team, forensic errors, malware analyst, and various teams in your organization. And you might be talking to the other teams in external to your organization as well. So there, different people use different terminology to refer to the same thing. So with attacks in place, they can refer to a one common thing which everybody understands. So that's how it provides the common language between various teams or various people. So that makes communication a lot easier than interpreting various languages in our own language. And then the last point is it is a community driven. So this all the techniques or all the behavior which has been part of this this database is contributed by the professionals like you and me. So whatever they are seeing or they are seeing in the wild, right, or they have seen or they are seeing in the wild, they are reporting it back to the Mitre attack or other Mitre, and they are taking evaluating that input, and then they put as a part of their framework. So it's a community driven. That also we will see in later slide. We'll see the name of the person in each technique who has contributed this technique. So we'll get into that details, but as of now, just need to understand it's a community driven project. If you see the your screen to the left bottom, you see the adversarial techniques and common knowledge. So that's the full form of attack. So many times we talk a lot about attack, but we sometimes we miss out on this kind of thing. So this is the full form of attack: adversarial tactics, techniques, and common knowledge. Now attack comes in a 4 various flavors: pre-attack, enterprise attack, mobile attack, and ICS attack. So when we typically talk about attack, if someone is talking about attack framework, they talk about the enterprise network. Now I'll tell you what are these all 4 attack metrics are. These are called metrics: pre-attack matrix, enterprise attack matrix, mobile matrix, and the ICS matrix. So in enterprise attack, all the techniques or all the activities by the attackers uh, by the attackers after they get into the or they break into your network. So in enterprise attack matrix, all the activities are collected after they break into the any network, and pre-attack is everything before they break into the network. So if I say what pre-attack includes, it's all about deciding on the target, which target organization you want to go for. So deciding on the target organization, gathering the information about that target organization in terms of technical information, then technical information, people information, and organizational level information. So that is information gathering part. Then once the information is gathered, we need to identify the weakness. So again, identifying weakness from the people, then people weakness, then organizational weakness, and of course the technical weakness like vulnerabilities in the technical infrastructure. That all that identification of the weaknesses, and then as a part of pre-attack, probably the attackers might build the various persona on the various social media platform, and then they will try to attack or rather they will target the various people based on the weaknesses which they have found in earlier stages or steps. And then probably they will go on building the capabilities for their attack. So they have to strategize the attack, and they after that they will get into the network. So they will build the capabilities, then they test the capabilities, and then they stage the capabilities. Once the capabilities is staged, and that capabilities gets materialized, then they break into the network, and everything after that is a part of an enterprise attack, and anything before that is part of a pre-attack framework, or rather matrix. So pre-attack talks about reconnaissance, identifying the target, and developing the capabilities, testing capabilities. And enterprise attack talks about everything after attackers gets into the network, and that we will get into the details. And when we talk about, again, when people talk about attack, they generally refer enterprise attack. And the next is mobile attack matrix, which is nothing but the our iOS and Android mobile device. So what sort of tricks, or rather what sort of techniques and tactics attackers use to break into the mobile systems. So that matrix talk about that. And then we have got the ICS, industrial control system, that is more of as name suggests, more of a repository of the techniques attackers used to break into the ICS network. So anybody who is working with SCADA or any ICS control system, I mean industrial control system, they should look for the ICS attack matrix. That will be helpful for them. So, with this basic understanding, let's get into the okay. Before even we get into the attack matrix, how does it look? We look at why attack was needed actually. So there were few challenges in pre-attack era. Yeah, I can recall when I was working with Karthik. If you remember, I mean, if you know Karthik, Karthik is center head for SciSec. So we used to work together. A few years back, we were working on one of the projects in UK, and we were building this SOC for one of our clients. And we were facing challenges in terms of getting the right sort of inputs to build our use cases, or rather our detection capabilities. So I'm talking about 2016-17. Yeah, I mean in that time attack was not that much of famous, and it was not the kind of a de facto thing back then. So we used to pull out a lot of different reports, threat intel reports from like FireEye, CrowdStrike, and that sort of reports we used to pull out. Then we used to go look at the SANS material, and we used to get the inputs from the red teams. So these were the few resources, and of course the legacy use cases also were there, was a part of the same tool which we were using. But those legacy use cases were more or less, from my opinion, they were not that much of useful. So the point here which I'm trying to draw here is, back then there was a lack of resources, and whatever resources we had, they were scattered resources, and those scattered resources had they used different languages. So our job was to pull out all these scattered resources into one location, then interpret into the language, and build the logic on top of it to develop our detection capabilities. So that was a really challenging task, and even after building the formidable amount of use cases or detection capabilities, we were not sure whether we have covered the whatever required or not. So there was no benchmark against which we can say, okay, like, okay, this is the benchmark, and 50% of this benchmark we have done, 70% of benchmark we are done, and if we are doing 80%, we are good. So there was no benchmarking thing for detection capabilities. And of course, the lack of guidance for data collection. So this is a typical challenge in every organization who have built the same. They know they've got the limited license to work with, and they've got whole lot of data to pull in. So we don't know what sort of data is important, what sort of data we need, and finally we end up collecting garbage in our SIM, and the data which we never use, and eat up our own licenses. So ultimately we end up with the garbage in our SIM, and which keeps on eating our license, and we don't know what to do now. So because we didn't have the visibility over what is important, what is not important, what is needed in order to actually get hold of the attacker activities. So all these challenges are being addressed or have been addressed by attack framework. And one of the key use cases of attack is cyber threat intelligence. So before 5 years, if we talk about cyber threat intelligence, bearing banks and other federal agencies, most people say that we have got free feeds, or some advanced people say we have got some subscribed commercial feeds, cyber threat intelligence feed, and we have integrated that feed with our SIM solution. We are done with cyber threat intelligence. Everything is hunky dory. And if we look at those feeds, free feeds or even the commercial feeds, they are hash values, IP addresses, and domain names most of the times. So blacklisted IPs and blacklisted hash values and blacklisted domain names. That information we have integrated with the SIM, and we are trying to see if those blacklisted material in our environment if that blacklisted material is in our environment or not. But if you see, I would like to draw your attention to right side of your slide screen, which is pyramid of pain, which is David J. Bianco's pyramid of pain. And if you see here, as you move up into the or up towards the top of the pyramid, the things are getting difficult for attackers to be changed. So what does it mean? If you see the bottom of the pyramid, hash values, IP addresses, and domain names, these are the trivial things for attackers to change. So right how hash value works. Even if one bit in a file changes, the entire hash value changes, right? And today changing IP addresses is also easy. So attackers keep on changing their IP addresses. So how many IP addresses you are going to block, right? And at the same time, domain names as well. DGS, domain name generation algorithms, they have been using. So domain names also keep on changing. So how many domain names you will track and how many domain names you will block? So the point is, we were collecting hash values, IP address, and domain names, and we were looking, and we were telling this is my threat intel information, and I will be relying on this information to secure my environment. Whereas the fact is, this changing this thing is very very easy. So yeah, even if you have this things in place, this threat intel information in place, but by changing the bit I can change the completely hash value and I'm still in your environment. You have this information in place, but still you won't be able to detect me, right? Because these things are very easy to change for the attacker. As we move on top of the pyramid, like retooling or changing their behavior or changing their protocols, network protocols, or changing their techniques, tactics, and procedures is difficult for attackers. So we need some source of information which provides us information, uh, provides us information on more of a on top of the pyramid rather than the bottom of the pyramid. So we need to have information related to TTPs of attackers rather than hash values, because hash values and things can be changed very easily. So, and TTPs, to change the TTPs is very difficult for attackers. So attack framework, our attack framework address this point, and it will give us the information about TTPs, techniques, tactics, and procedures about the particular threat actors or the cyber attackers. So that help us a big time to identify and understand and build the detection capabilities based on these TTPs. So this is why attack was got very wide reception in the industry, because people in IR were facing so many challenges before attack, and with introduction of attack, most of the things have been addressed effectively. So that was the point where we say why attack has become de facto standard for IR or the detection capabilities, building the detection capabilities. Okay, let's get into the attack. So I'm not sure how many of you have worked with attack or have seen the attack, but if you have seen the attack in the past, this is the look or this is the view which you must have seen. So this is the enterprise attack matrix, and if you see on top of this table, we have got set of columns here, and at each, okay, let me use some pointers so that I can show you. Okay, so these are the things which I'm talking about. So we have got set of columns, and at the top of each column we have got this little gray box, right? And you can see these are the tactics. These are called tactics: initial access, execution, persistence, privilege escalations, and defense evasion. These are the tactics, and these tactics are nothing but the high level technical goals of the adversary. So any cyber attacker or any attacker wants to go through these phases, typically goes through these phases, like so that initial goal would be to get the initial access or get into the environment, get into your network. That will be initial access. How they get into the network, that we will see later. But this is their goal, to get into your network. Once they get into your network, they would like to run some arbitrary their code, malicious code, right, into your environment. Once that is done, they would like to be persistent in your environment. Once that is done, they would like to escalate privileges and then move laterally in your environment. Then they would like to collect the data which they want, they want to collect, and then finally they will exfil the data, exfiltrate the data out of your network, right? So these are the typical or the technical goals of the adversaries, and this is called tactics in terms of in with reference to attack framework. And these tactics can be seen as a various stages or different stages of typical cyber attack as well. So if you see initial access, execution, as I said, these are the various stages of attack, right? Any typical cyber attack goes through one or many uh, uh, you know one or many stages of this goals or the stages, goes through these stages. So yeah, so this is kind of a cyber kill chain which we are looking at, and these are called tactics in terminology of attack. Now let's see what we have got under each tactic, which is called techniques. And these techniques are nothing but how these goals are achieved. So we have got initial access as a goal which any attacker would like to achieve in order to break into your network. How they do it? So that these are the techniques. So it could be spear phishing link, or it could be drive by download, right? These are the various ways and means by which they can achieve this goal. Tactic, goal means. So these are the techniques. So that is true for every tactic. So we have got multiple techniques here to achieve this goal. For execution, it can be PowerShell. The PowerShell can be used. MSHTA can be used. Same way, So the point is, these are the various techniques which can be used to achieve this goal. I think I have made myself clear on this. Tactics and techniques. These are the two primary components of attack. And tactics are high-level adversary goal, and techniques are nothing but how ways and means to achieve that goal, how these goals are achieved. So we'll go into the details of PowerShell after one slide. So after this, we have got one slide, and then we will have a double click view of PowerShell, right? One of the techniques. So before we get into that, I would like to throw some numbers to you. So if you see on left side top of your screen, you can see attack techniques by operating system. So we have got 268 techniques. We know now what is techniques, right? The ways and means to achieve the goal or the tactic. So we have got 268 techniques for Windows, 146 for Linux, and 176 for Mac. So of course, these techniques are overlapping in the operating system. But in nutshell, we have got around 300 plus techniques, unique techniques in the entire MITRE ATT&CK framework, enterprise attack I'm talking about. And same way, if you see here, techniques by tactic, for each tactic, we have got some numbers for techniques. So if you see 67 techniques we have got for whatever privilege escalation, defense evasion, 67 techniques. And probably these numbers might little old because I took this slide from one of my previous presentation. But as I said, the point which I'm trying to drive here is 300 plus techniques we have, unique techniques we have in entire enterprise metric, enterprise attack. So that's a huge amount of information we have. And now let's get into the details of technique. So if we click on this PowerShell, what happens? If we click on this one of the techniques, what sort of view we are going to get? If we click on PowerShell, we will be presented a text which will talk about how this particular technique is used by the attackers or the adversaries. So if we see here, adversaries can use PowerShell to perform number of actions, including discovery of information and execution of code. Examples include start process commandlet, which can be used to run an executable, and the invoke commandlet, which runs a command locally or on a remote computer. So this is showing how adversaries using this particular technique. In this case, they are using PowerShell to gather the information or execution of any code. And then they are saying example as well, start process commandlet, which will help to, or which will use, or rather which is used for running executable, and invoke commandlet to get the information on a local or remote computer, right? So that's how they are giving the detailed information how this technique is used by the attacker. And they went on further saying PowerShell may also be used to download and run executable from internet, which can be executed from disk or in memory without touching the disk, right? So they are explaining how this particular technique is being used or has been used by the adversaries. So this is about, and this kind of information has been provided for each technique, 300 plus technique we are talking about here, right? So it's a huge information. And then on the same page, we will find this procedure examples, right? Now, as I said, this PowerShell techniques or this particular technique is being used in a different way by different threat actors or threat groups, right? So technique is one, but the implementation is different by a different threat group. So here we have got the example which threat group has used this particular technique in which way, right? So if you see here, APT19, this is a threat group, use the PowerShell commands to execute payloads. And at the same time, APT28 downloads and execute PowerShell script. So the point is, this procedure example shows us which threat group and which threat group is using this techniques in which way they have implemented this technique. So if we are targeting, or if we are after particular threat group, based on the threat intel we have received, we can take the information from here. Okay, like APT19 is executing payload, so I need to pay attention. I need to pay attention how I can detect the execution of payloads through PowerShell, right? And at the same time, if something else is being done by APT29, for example, has used encoded PowerShell script. So if I see encoded PowerShell script to the Cozy Car installations, which is connecting to the Cozy Car installation, then probably I should be I'm looking at the APT29. So based on this information, you will be doing the attribution, or in a reverse, if you are targeting some specific threat group, or if you want to detect some particular threat group, then you know what detection capabilities, or what sort of things you need to look for in your environment. So these are the procedure examples. And if you see, each procedure example has been cited with the references, right? So in the next slide, we'll see these references. So each and every reference document is an open source, again, is an open source threat intel reports, or open source. Basically, it's a open documents which anybody can refer, and it has got the plethora of technical details. Believe me, this is a huge information. So if you want to actually get into the technical weeds, how this has been done, which kind of binary, and which infrastructure they have used, and what are the various stages of the attack, and all that thing, right? So we need to get into the details of this particular references, and then we will be able to understand the entire attack bit by bit. So this is a huge, this is a lot of information they are providing on a for a single technique. We are still on a single technique page. So on the same technique page, we will be able to see all this information. I'll show you in a while. But before we get into that thing, let's understand what are the various components which we see on that page. Next is metadata. On the same page, you will see the metadata as well. So this is technique ID T1086, then tactic, under which tactic this technique falls, right? So, sorry. So, PowerShell falls under execution. Tactic is the high level goal, as I said. So for achieving the execution goal, they want to run arbitrary script, right, or malicious script in our environment. That is a goal, and the technique used is PowerShell. So tactic, then which platform it is applicable to, what sort of permission required, right? And this is again the important thing, data sources. So if I want to detect this technique or this activity in my environment, what data sources I should be having in my SIEM, right? So this is again addressing the challenges which we discussed earlier, right? We need to know what we want to see and how we can get that visibility, right? So first answer we have got through these techniques. These are the techniques which are used by the attacker. So that's what we want to see in our environment, right? And second, I want to see, but how? So these data sources will give you the answer. This is how you collect the logs. These are the data sources from where you collect the logs, and you will have the visibility for those techniques, right? And this technique ID T1086, this is what we talked earlier about the common language. So anybody who wants to talk about PowerShell script execution, or rather PowerShell execution in the environment, they will refer to T1086. So that's how technique IDs are being used. So even if you see nowadays any global threat intel report, they have started referencing this MITRE attack technique IDs in each report, with their the techniques or the procedures which are be used by the attacker. So in all threat intel report, they are citing or they are referencing this attack IDs. So that's how everybody understand. Okay, T1086, it means PowerShell. Though they have the description, but sometimes various people are using, various companies use various description or different terminologies. But when this everybody citing 1086, everybody understand. Okay, PowerShell execution. They are talking about PowerShell execution. All right. So that's how they provide the common language. And then here you look at this contributors. So this technique is contributed by this guy. So this is open source and the community driven. That's what we discussed. So this is the community driven. This is where it shows. Okay, and on the same page we will find the mitigation and detection. If you want to mitigate this thing to happen in our environment, what needs to be done? Some text. We won't get into details in this webinar here. The point here is we will get this information as well on the technique page. And detection, again, it will refer back to the data sources which we have seen. Based on that data sources, we will have the detection mechanism, some sort of detection mechanism. So this is what we will get as a part of attack matrix. So this is a lot of information for a single technique. Okay, so we can go to groups, but before that I would like to show you the actual attack thing. I'm not sure. Let me share. Can you see my screen with metric browser open, attack matrix, or I need to share again the browser?
No, you're not able to. I think you have just shared your PPT. You're not able to see the other one.
Okay, let me try. Let me go to Zoho. Zoho is here. Okay, fine. What I will do, I will show when I will show the demo. Okay. Is it visible now? I'm back to the presentation. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, it's visible.
No?
It's visible.
Okay, all right, cool. So we discussed mitigation detection. Now we will talk about the groups. Now this is a different view of attack, right? So far we discussed about the tactics, and under each tactic we have got multiple techniques, and we had a double click view of the technique page, right? PowerShell technique page, we have seen the small text has been given, then the metadata, then the references, and the procedure examples, and the detection and mitigation. These are the few things which we will see when we click on the technique page. Now this is a different view for attack matrix. This is a group view. Groups are nothing but the threat actors or the uh, adversary groups. So you will have one page for groups where all the groups are listed. So if you are looking, or if you want to detect activities from a specific group, and probably if you have got any threat intel information like apt3 is active now in your industry, then probably you may need to look for what apt3 doing typically, right? So so this is the group view where you can see I clicked on the apt3 information, so you can see the brief text about apt3, what is apt3, and this apt3 is the name of the group, and then you've got the id and the other metadata associated with this. Now the important thing here is the associated group description here, which I've shown in a rectangle. Associated groups. Now what happens, different organization or different companies, different threat intel companies use the different names. They give their own names and their own descriptions for describing the similar threat group activities, right? So let's say one company, for example, FireEye says it is apt3, and same way CrowdStrike says it's a Gothic Panda, right? To describe the similar set of threat activities. So these guys, the Mitre team, what they have done, they have mapped this Gothic Panda to apt3 or apt3 to Gothic Panda. So many times we get the tip or the threat intel information, uh, like Gothic Panda has been active in your environment or in your rather industry, so you need to look for activities of Gothic Panda. So now at that time we should know Gothic Panda is nothing but the apt3, or apt3 is nothing but the Gothic Panda, so that that mapping, if we have got, then it will be easier for us to identify the group, and then go for the various techniques or tactics which this group is using, and then we'll be able to build a detection for that particular group. So this associated group description is important thing. Then yeah, and then on the same groups page, you can see techniques used. So this particular apt3, our example, we have used apt3. So which techniques used by this particular group, right? So these are the various techniques. These are the various techniques used by this group with technique IDs, and then how they have used it, everything. So detailed information we get. So how this will help? Now we know what techniques they are using. These apt3 guys are using, right? So we need to have the detection capabilities for these techniques in our environment if we are chasing apt3, right? And same information, same way we get the information which software, which tools, right? These guys are using. So this is again the important information. If we see, OS info in our environment, and we see other context around this, probably apt3 is active in our environment or in our network, right? So that way, knowing this context, or knowing this which group is using what techniques and software, is really helpful when you want to target a specific group or threat actor in your environment. And again, if you see here, hello, I think we have got some background noise.
Yeah,
I
carry on,
hope,
Ketar. Sorry, I think there was some noise coming.
yeah. All right. So, so these are the software and techniques used by this by a specific group, right? And if you see here, this software is used for which technique? So now you've got the technique mapping against the software. So when you see something like OS info in your environment, you should immediately look for these techniques in your environment. I mean, you need to look for the traces of these techniques in your environment, right? So if you see OS info, then account discovery, network share discovery, permission groups, then immediately you look for this kind of command line command line commands that in your environment. If you see this coming together, then probably OS info is being used by the attacker to get the further information in your environment. So that's how this entire thing can be used uh, in detection and in your IR, right? So this is group view. Now we talk about the use cases. I mean, I've already talked about uh, why attack was needed, but these are the official, or rather these are the four use cases where attack can be used. Attack framework can be used. Detection and analytics, of course, uh, building detection capabilities. That is a primary use case which we are looking at. Then cyber threat intelligence. We are going to see one demo about cyber threat intelligence that I'm going to show a later part of this presentation. Then assessment and engineering, right? So assessment, as I said, measurement, there has to be some benchmark against which we can do assessment of our detection capabilities, right? So this is the this attack framework provides us that opportunity to do this assessment against this against detection, or against the benchmark for our detection capabilities. And then the adversary emulation and red teaming. So adversary emulation, as I said, like we have seen in a group view where we have seen like APT3 or APT whatever 39, right? So if we want to emulate any adversary in our environment, then this attack can be used, because we know this adversary uses these techniques and this software, and this is their way of break into network and then carry out the other activities in a different stage of the cyber attack. Having this information will be easier for us to emulate the adversary. So that kind of assessment also we can do with the help of attack. I think I've made myself clear about use cases of the attack. And with this, I think we will get into the first demo of this evening, where I will show you. But before that, let me share my screen again. I will stop sharing and I will share my screen again. Just give me a moment. I hope you are able to see my screen. Can I get some? Can I get some yes or no? Can you see my screen now? Okay, I think you can see my screen. I've got the answer. Okay, cool. So, okay, so before getting to the demo, let me show which I missed to show you guys because of the, I was not able to share my screen. So this is the enterprise. This is for the guys who have not seen earlier. This is the enterprise matrix. This is a attack website, attack.mitre.org, and then we have got the enterprise matrix, and these are the various tactics which we discussed about. And then we talked about here PowerShell thing. Okay, let me click on this. We have got this view which we have discussed. right? Mitigations, detection, references, right? So this is whole information, all this information will get as a part of the technique page. So that's what we discussed in previous slides. And the group view, here you can see, this is a group. I click on this, you see all the list of groups here, right? And if you click on, for example, APT, whatever, we saw APT3, okay. So let's go for APT3. You see the APT3 group, some text around this, some metadata around this, associated group description. Again, this is important because more or less APT3 is nothing but the Gothic Panda. That's what we are trying to say, because they are showing the similar threat group activities or similar group of activities. Then techniques used, which techniques are being used by this. I just had a snapshot there, so I was not able to take the all the techniques, but these many techniques have been used, and the software same. These many softwares are being used, and then again we have got the references. So a lot of information we have utilized in our IR or detection or threat intel stuff. Okay, now let me show you some demo here. So what we are going to do, we have seen the PowerShell thing, right? So, and we saw that one of the statement in that technique thing. Let me go back to PowerShell. Where is it? Yeah. PowerShell may also be used to download and run executable from the internet. So this scenario we are going to simulate, right? So I've got my CMD open, and for sake of simplicity, or sake of saving the time, I've already typed out the command. So here, if you see here, and I have, I've created the localhost as a web server. So web server is running locally. So I will download one file locally from the local web server, but you can consider this is being downloaded from the internet. This is how the malware downloads the file from the internet, right? This could be the typically C2 server or C2 URL. And then where it has been downloaded, this is the location where it is downloaded using PowerShell. So we are using PowerShell.exe, and then we are downloading the file from this particular location, right? This particular location to this particular location on this machine locally. And then we are running that executable or the file with this command, right? So that's what we are doing. So if you see here now, this is the download folder where I would like to download the file from the internet. So right now, if you see here, this is a download folder on my desktop, right? That's where the file should be downloaded. Right now, download folder is empty. We don't have anything. After the execution of the command, the file will be fetched from this web server and will be put there, will be stored there, and then that file will be executed. And typically, this is a malware behavior which has been seen in the wild. We have seen in PowerShell technique description, right? And then we will see how it can be detected as well. So let me run this command. Okay. It's not getting run. Right. So now let's go to this download folder. The malware text, the file got downloaded from the web server which I'm running, and then that file got executed. Now fortunately this file was a naive file, text file, right? But this is how typically malware does its execution. Now if I want to detect this, what needs to be done? I need to have logs, right? So this is the event viewer, and I am going to the Sysmon. I have installed Sysmon. That's a different altogether story, but this can be detected via security logs as well. Event ID 4688. That can be captured, and we can see this activity. with the command line execution on. But here I'm using Sysmon. Sysmon again is a Microsoft based tool just to pull the data, the important, to log the important data on the machine, important activities as a log, right? Okay, let me rephrase myself. So Sysmon is a Microsoft utility which will help to log the important activities as in the event viewer as a log file, right? And if you see here, I'll refresh this. You would be able to see here the activity which we have done. So you see here, this is the event ID 1 in Sysmon, and you can see here this command which we have executed, right? This is the very important stuff which we need to capture as a part of our same or the logging strategy. So by this we come to know entire command has been run. Now we know something has been downloaded from some XYZ URL and then it has been run. So, and where it has been run, right? So now we have got indicator of compromise here, right? IOC, the URL is the first IOC we have. Then we have got the downloaded location, right? This is the second IOC we have got, right? So we have, and then if the file exists there in that particular location, then we have got we can get the hash of that particular file, so that we will have a third IOC, right? So all these IOCs can be used in order to detect further, any attack or any suspicious activities in your environment. So this is how we can use attack in our environment, right? So this was the first demo which I would like to show you. Now let's quickly move on to the attack navigator. Let me copy this. I hope you guys are able to see me what I'm doing. Okay, so this is attack navigator. Okay, still loading. Okay, I think now you are able to see this is attack navigator. This is an open source tool which is developed by Mitre again to support this attack implementation and attack, any sort of related activities. And this is their hosted instance. So you can go to this GitHub and then download the entire this thing attack navigator and modify if you want, right? Basically it's a JSON file, and we can add our own items and the way we want, but this is their hosted instance. So I'm using this hosted instance as of now. And again, now you probably know like these are the various tactics, and under each tactic we have got various techniques, right? And now we have got the number of techniques as well. So these, if we total all these techniques, we have got 300 plus techniques for the entire attack thing. Now I will not get into the details how this work. All these functions I wanted to show you, but I think we are in a time crunch. I think it's 6 o'clock already, and we started around 5. So I don't want to get into, it's pretty simple. I don't want to get into the details of it, but I would like to definitely show you how this attack navigator is used into threat intel thing. So for example, this is my slide. This is India versus China, for example. After this recent clash with China, right? We almost everybody knows, like Chinese state sponsored threat actors have become active, and they have started massive campaigns against Indian government organization and high profile organization. So if you see my LinkedIn tweet a couple of days back, where I have said the techniques which is used by these two groups. So these two groups are Gothic Panda and Stone Panda. These are the two groups which are typically known for attacking various countries in case of geopolitical conflict with China. So these are the two groups which are China based group, Gothic Panda and Stone Panda. And after any geopolitical clash, these two groups gets active, and they target the government or agencies or high profile industries, or even they send mass phishing emails and all that stuff, right? So defender, what do I need to know about this, or these two threat actors are active? So now I need to know what sort of techniques or procedures or tactics they are using. Once I know that, then I will be able to uh, you know uh, I will be able to assess my defense capabilities or detection capabilities against that, whether I'm having, how much coverage I have, right? So for that I need to know what those guys are using. So I'll go to Gothic Panda first. So Gothic Panda, if you remember, it's APT3. So I can select from here APT3 select. So if I select here APT3, all the techniques related
Yes,
to
yes, sir. Tell me what slide do you want me to go to?
we can go to the second last slide, which I was discussing about post-China thing, post-China clash.
Yeah.
How can we? So I think now I lost the sharing here. So that's the problem. Otherwise, I would have shown how we can, use the attack navigator, which we were looking into. That can be used to identify the techniques. I hope everybody is listening to me, right? I mean, they can listen to me, right, Karthik?
Yeah, we can hear you. So I think you're audible. Yeah. So please proceed.
Yeah, okay. So here, okay, as I'm not able to share my screen now, I'll just explain you verbally what this slide all about. So basically here,
Can you see
how
the
we
screen
can,
that I have shared?
yes, I can see that the screen
Okay.
which you have shared. So
Okay.
second slide, this is a slide which I was showing demo on. So the point was here, like, how we can use attack navigator to identify the techniques used by these two threat actors or threat groups. So we can use the attack navigator to select the techniques with respect to both of the groups, and then we can merge this groups together using attack navigator, and then we will have a techniques which are used by both the threat actors as well as single actor. So basically we will have the entire view, or the comprehensive views, the techniques used by either one or two or both of them. So that's what attack navigator can help us to have visibility on. And once we have got that visibility, we can make sure that we have got the detection capabilities against those techniques which are used by these two threat group. So this is about this thing. I mean this slide, and now we can move to the next slide. That is probably the last slide of this webinar. Yeah. So this is as we discussed earlier in the agenda slide. This is how to approach about the actionize the MITRE attack. So as we discussed, we have got 300 plus techniques, right? It's a huge a huge amount of information which we are having, and going implementing all 300 techniques at a go, or at the same time, is not the right way, or we don't have budget, we don't have time, resources, right? So we need to prioritize. So on what basis we can prioritize? What data sources we already have in place, right? So uh, uh, one way or the other, we in our organization, we are collecting some sort of data, or we are generating some sort of logs or data sources by default, right? So first of all, we need to understand what sort of data sources we already have existing in place, whether we can use the existing data sources which we have to build any of the detection capabilities. So we need to look at the data sources. Basically, we need to do reverse engineering. Instead of looking at the techniques, we will look at our data sources, and then we will map that data sources to the technique, right? Instead of looking at the technique and look at the data source, we will see data source, and then we'll look at the technique, what techniques we can implement out of the existing data sources. Then second way is to prioritize looking at the threat intelligence inputs. So as I said, like, probably if we know in our industry, uh, you know,
if I'm working in banking industry, if I'm working in government organization, or if I'm into oil and gas, based on the specific industries, we can get the certain tips from the threat intel team or threat intel feeds which we subscribe. So if they are saying like XYZ actors are active in your industry for so and so time, so based on that input also we can prioritize our activities or the actions as we discussed, right? Then tools. What sort of tools we already have? It's again like existing tools, leveraging existing tools, right? If you've got existing tools like Splunk or any other like EDR, right? Whether we can use that existing tools to build any of these capabilities. For example, if we've got EDR tool, then we can cover many of the endpoint techniques like endpoint detection techniques based on that EDR log sources. And then finally, we have got the red team. So if we have got the red team or the pen testing team, which keeps on carrying out the various red teaming activities, based on that also we can get some sort of input. This is where we are lacking, or this is where typical attackers, this is how typical attackers behaves. And then based on their input also we can build our detection capabilities and prioritize our detection capabilities. So these are the various ways by we can go about implementing our MITRE ATT&CK framework. And we have to we need to keep one thing in our mind, like having 100% coverage of MITRE ATT&CK is something which is a huge task, and no one in the world has achieved that kind of like thing as of yet. But so like 100% coverage is, we need to forget about this. But what we need to make sure that we have got significant coverage, and the techniques which are related to my industry, related to my organization, which makes more sense for my organization and my industry. That for that we need to go about building the detection capabilities, and we discuss the approach, how we can prioritize our approach, or how we can prioritize building detection capabilities based on the attack framework. So I think that's about it, which I wanted to discuss with you guys this evening. I think the last slide is, I think this is the last slide, Karthik, I believe, and there's a next slide of thank you. So I would like to thank you everybody for giving your time to me and to SciSec. And now I think we are done with the presentation, and we are open to any question and answer. So,
Great,
Karthik,
Kirtan. Yeah, so there are some questions that have been put in the chat window. If you can look at those and respond to them. I have put you on WhatsApp.
Okay, let me look at. So one question is, what is TTP? So TTP is tactics, techniques, and procedures, right? That's what we discussed. Tactic, high-level goals, techniques, how how those goals are achieved, and procedures. We have seen the procedure examples, right? So specific way of implementing specific technique by a specific threat actor. That is the procedure. So TTP is nothing but the tactics, techniques, and procedure. Then can we get the material? You mean to say PowerShell to learn technique isn't easy attackers? Okay. Materials, what I believe what they are trying to ask, whether we can share this presentation or not. Yes, we can share the presentation. I think Abbas has made clear that this is going to be uploaded on YouTube, and I'm going to share this presentation on my GitHub. So yeah, it's available. What is APT term, right? APT is Advanced Persistent Threat. So it's more of a, so there are two types of attackers, opportunist and the targeted attacks. Two types of attacks rather, opportunist attack and the targeted attacks, right? So when we talk about APT, it's more of a targeted attack than the opportunist attack. So opportunist attack means like, there is a vulnerability disclosed, and the attacker is sweeping internet to identify any of the any of the vulnerable systems online available, and then they will try to exploit that system. That is sweeping the internet, and if they see the opportunity, they will try to exploit. There is no target. I mean, there is no specific target in mind. But with advanced persistent threat, I have a target to compromise, and I will keep on trying to get into the that organization with various ways and means which we have discussed. It could be through people weakness, or it could be a technical vulnerability, or by any means, right? So that's the advanced persistent threat, and it is typically state sponsored activities. It is well funded and well resourced, highly skilled people are working on it, and that sort of thing, right? APT. DLL full form, dynamic link library, right? Dynamic link library, that is DLL. Then the next is how active attacks can be identified. So these are the ways, right? I mean, this is what we have discussed. These active attacks means we need to know the typical techniques, right, which are being used by the cyber attackers. And once we know those techniques, we should build the detection capabilities in our environment. And then if there are any active attacks against us, then probably we'll be able to catch that. So for the most important thing is to know what are the techniques, and then we should have the detection capabilities to detect that those activities. Once we have got that, then we'll be able to catch the active attacks against our network or the environment. Is it open source framework? Yes, it is open source. It's a as I shown, we can browse through it, go through it, and there are everything is available online. You can go there and start using it. I mean, how should I? 3 different groups, make them visible, different colors. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you. So the question is, how can we utilize the attack navigator for the threat intel, which I wanted to show, with a different color and visibility and all that. So unfortunately, we don't have that sharing part as of now with me. Otherwise, I would have shown you. That was a part of the presentation. But it's easy. I mean, there is a the resource available on the MITRE ATT&CK website only. You can go there and look at the trainings there, and on the training video 4, you will be able to see that the same thing which you are asking.
So maybe Kirta, you can share the link to that, and then we will share it with all the participants later.
Yeah, sure, will do.
Yeah.
And pyramid of pain, why the hash values are stated trivial, though hashing features are very prominent. Right, hashing features are very prominent, and hashing is a very good technology, but those are for the that is for integrity check, right? Hashing is for the integrity check of the file. So the main service which hashing gives us is the integrity maintenance. So if there is any one bit is and this hash value we are using here as a detection mechanism or the indicator of compromise. So what does it mean? That we typically get the hash values from various threat intel providers to feed into our SIM system where and these hash values are malicious in nature. So for the malwares which are seen in the wild, we get the hash values. So if that binary or that malware or that binary is in our environment, we will be able to catch or detect based on those hash values. So if the file's hash value is matching with that binary, if the file's hash value is matching with the hash value which has been given by the threat intel team, then there is a match and there is a malware on my system, right? So that's where hashing comes into the picture as far as detection capability is concerned. But the thing is, the changing hash is very trivial. So even if the same malware, if I change only one bit of that malware binary, it will be the same functionality, it will be the same malware, it will be get executed on my environment, but the hash would be different. So I won't be able to identify that malware on my system. That's why it is trivial, because it is trivial to change. So if the hash is changed, I won't be able to detect it, right? In that terms, it is trivial. Otherwise, hashing for integrity purpose is the prominent thing. That way, you are right. Right. We've got a lot of questions. One sec. So pain, why hash? Okay, then how can recognize attack is running in the system and how to prevent? Right. So attack. The question is how we can recognize attack is running in the system and how to prevent. So attack is a framework, right? So it's not any active attack we are talking about, right? Attack is a framework which is a repository of the various techniques which are used by the attackers, and we need to leverage this framework to understand and identify the techniques and tactics and procedures used by the adversaries, and based on that we need to build our detection capabilities. And once we have that detection capability in place, we'll be able to detect those type of attacks. Actually, it would be great we can have an attack navigator quick review. Right. So that was the part of the presentation. But anyway, I will share the link with you guys so that you can have a look. Is there any instance where attackers have attacked MITRE repository as it contains detailed info on most known attacks? Not any of I am aware of. There is no. So the question is, if the MITRE attack repository itself got hacked or compromised by the attackers. So I'm not aware of any instances of such attack. That is the main thing I would like to learn and hear from you, Attack Navigator. Yeah. So I will share the link. You can go through that video and you will get to know about Attack Navigator. Is there any open source tool we can utilize implement MITRE attack? Open source tool, yes. So Sysmon, you can start with Sysmon to collect the endpoint data logs, and once you have got that Sysmon, started in your environment, so you will have the logs on your system, and then you can use ELK to ingest that log into ELK infrastructure, and then that can be leveraged. So basically, it's a zero budget thing. Sysmon is free, ELK is free, and you can start having some visibility into your environment with respect to MITRE attack framework. Please guide the use of taskbar with utilizing okay. Yeah. So that correct. So Attack Navigator, the same thing. I will share the link with you guys, and you will be able to know how to use Attack Navigator to identify the various techniques used by the various threat groups with a different color and all that. Chinese MITRE framework could be used for multi-layer defense goal or for incident detection response. So the question is MITRE framework could be used for multi-layer defense goal or only for incident detection response? So this is more of a detection, right? It's not a preventative kind of a thing, but it's more of a detection and response. But as far as multi-layer is concerned, yes, it is multi-layer because we have seen the various tactics, right? It's a different stage of the cyber attack, right? So the sooner you catch the adversary, the better for you, right? So if you get the adversary in the stage of initial access, so it's good for you rather than you are detecting adversary in the exfiltrate, right? Exfiltration while they are doing exfiltration. So a lot of damage has been done into your environment if you catch in the later stages of the attack framework. Who is responsible for organization in handling attack framework apart from red teams? So attack framework is more of a blue teamer's job, right? So blue teams, defense team, IR team, whatever the name we call, those are the guys who should be taking responsibility of the attack, because those are the guys who are, IR team, again, it depends on the organization to organization, because small organization have got few team members in IR and everybody is doing everything, whereas large organization have got the IR team separate and then the building team, engineering team separate. So they will build the use cases for you, and the IR team only, look into the response part. They will not get into the building part of the detection capabilities. So, but typically it's more of a IR team, blue teaming, and the engineering team who works with the defense team or the blue team. So they are the main owner of the attack, not the red teams. What is the difference between pre-attack and attack for enterprise? So pre-attack is everything before adversary breaks into your network, and the attack is everything after the adversary breaks into your network, right? So that I think we have discussed in detail. I think I have made myself clear on that slide. Pre-attack, so targeting the organization and information gathering about the organization, people, and staging the capabilities and all that sort of before they actually get into the network. All the preparation and tactics used, to build the strategy, how to break into the network. So that's pre-attack. And attack we have seen, right? After once they get into, they move laterally and persistence and all that. Any specific APT groups available for web applications? So I think APT groups are, they've got the higher sense of goal or the objectives rather than web applications. So their objective is not to break into application. Their objective could be stealing the military information from environment, from the any secure environment of the enemy country. So that is their goal. Now for that, if they need to break the web application, or they need to break the Windows system, they need to break Linux. So those are the various ways and means. Their objectives are not web application. Their objectives are much higher than that. Okay, then what we got? If most of all tactics of attackers have already been identified and carefully studied, why are attacks still happening? So it has been studied, but then it has not been fully made aware. And as I said, 300 plus techniques. And again, if you go into the details of each technique, you've got multiple ways to implement it. So you will have more than 300. I mean, you can have a probably multifold of 300 in that term. So implementation is difficult. So for us, for defenders, you've got these many things to defend, and for attackers, just one thing to get into, right? If we are missing one thing, then we are done. And mainly what I've seen so far, leaving apart the attack and detection capabilities and all that, most of the time it's a lazy processes with respect to vulnerability management and patch management, because the patches are not updated and the vulnerabilities are not closed. The systems are getting exploited. And the other part is the phishing campaigns. So user awareness and not having proper phishing screening at the border, or rather at the network border. So yeah, so that's why still attacks are happening. It will keep on happening, and there are 0 days are also in place. For that, we don't have anything detection mechanism. So it's going to happen. So one sec. Just give me a moment.
Yeah, sure, Deepak.
Yeah, sorry guys for that. There was someone at the door, so I had to open the door. Okay. Then the question is, does MITRE ATT&CK update TTPs of any current attacks and how? Yeah, MITRE ATT&CK is it's a live document, I should say. So as I said, like, in my previous one of the slides, we were having some techniques view, number of techniques. So that was probably 6 months, 8 months old slide. So now there are a lot many techniques have been added. So yeah, it's a live document and they keep on updating that thing. So we'll have a fairly, recent, attack vectors into that. Is this a framework useful for detection and how to control the, yeah, it's a, so the question is this a framework, is this framework useful for detection and how to control threats? Yes. So it's a, so as we have seen, one of the use cases is detection, right? So once we are able to detect the thing, obviously we will be able to control the threat, right? So so detection is the key, and then containment comes into the picture. So this is a typical incident response life cycle. We detect, then we contain, we remediate, and then we learn the lessons, and again we start building the detection capability. So that's the incident management life cycle. Based on what factors the data is collected to have pre-attack list? Based on what factors the data is collected? So the pre-attack is the list of the techniques techniques used by the attackers in order to understand the target in detail and identify the weakness, and then they will take some time to stage and prepare the attack, right? Prepare the capabilities and strategize the attack against the targeted organization. And again, based on what factors data is collected, so these inputs are coming in from the, as we discussed, it's open source and contributed by the, the people like you and me in the industry. So the inputs are coming from the people and what they've seen in their experience and what they've seen in the wild. So these are the factors on which they are collecting the data. What are the best alternatives to MITRE ATT&CK? Any India specific matrices? Okay, so there is no, I think I'm not sure if there are any alternatives to MITRE ATT&CK, but this is the most comprehensive thing for detection which I have seen so far. Apart from that, I mean, previously, as I said, like, a lot of built-in use cases used to come with the, SIM technologies, but those use cases were pretty much useless from my understanding. And if you have seen now, most of the SIM vendors are mapping their tool against the MITRE ATT&CK. So MITRE ATT&CK has become the de facto standard for detection capabilities. And yeah, so even these SIM vendors are mapping their tool with the various stages of MITRE ATT&CK. So yeah. And any specific metrics for India? So again, for India, we need to understand what are our adversaries. As I said, like, Gothic Panda and Stone Panda probably active at this moment. So we need to know what sort of techniques they are using. So those would be the India specific for us. Are you referring to resource AttackCon? So AttackCon is the various, I mean, that is a conference they have started, I think, few years back. So yeah, those are that is also one of the good resources, attack conferences. But if you look at the MITRE ATT&CK website under resources, you will be able to see other information and other resources as well, apart from attack conference details. Any knowledge platform available on Red Team, Purple Team? What are the activities they do? So that's altogether different aspects of the security, what Red Team do and what Purple Team does, right? So red teaming is more of a, attacking, staging, creating the attacks or attacking the infrastructure by emulating the adversaries, like different APT groups, or based on the your organization and your requirements, you will create the attack vectors, and you will then try to exploit the vulnerabilities or weaknesses in the system, and then you will give that input to your blue team or the defender so that they will be able to build the detection capabilities, and the other side that can the other inputs can go to the other teams as well: patch management, vulnerability management, access control, and all that. So it's a huge thing. As far as this red teaming and purple team activities are concerned, so they do this kind of activities, but the repercussions are huge, and it will be touching multiple teams in the organization. Yes, any recommended software can be used at the endpoint at OS level. Yes, so Sysmon, as I said, Sysmon is one of the good tools which we can use, leverage to start with, to get the endpoint telemetry into the SIEM. How to use this attack framework for detection? Right, so that's what we have been discussing and we have discussed. So these techniques, right? These techniques, we need to identify the our scope, and scope can be decided based on the approach we have taken, as we discussed on the approach. What existing data sources we have, what are my existing adversaries, right? So based on that, we will have to define my scope and decide the approach and define the scope of implementation of attack. Once we identify, like out of 300 techniques, I want to implement these 20 techniques first. These 20 techniques are my first priority. Once we decide on those techniques, then we will have to get into the details of each technique, like what data sources I would be requiring to detect this. How can I detect this techniques? Once we have got that understanding, we will have to see whether we have got that data sources available or not. If data sources are not available, then we will have to do something about it, and we will have to make that data sources available. And then we'll have to build the detection logic on top of it, and then finally we should be testing that detection which we have built. And slowly we need to build 20, 40, 60, and that way we'll have to keep on building our detection capabilities. And we can look at the MITRE attack, and we will see how much percentage coverage we have got with respect to MITRE attack. So that's how we can go about the implementation of MITRE attack. So yeah, I think I have covered most of the questions now, Karthik. So I think we are okay with the question answers. I think if anybody has got any questions, please feel free to ask.
Okay, there are no more questions. Thanks a lot for taking this webinar. And in the middle of introductions, you still managed to provide a lot of information. Although we missed out on some of the demo of Navigator part. But yeah, what we will do is we'll probably share a link. You mentioned you are going to upload the presentation to your GitHub. You can share the link to the participants, to the presentation, to other resources which we would have wanted to cover today but could not.
Yeah, sure. So what I will do, I will share this link of this presentation of my GitHub, and I will share the links of other resources with you and your team. So probably you can share it across with the participants. I think that's fine, right?
Yes, we'll do that.
Okay.
Thanks a lot to all the participants for staying back till now. In the middle of all the interruptions we had for some time. The assessment link is broadcasted on the Q&A window. Please, log in there and you can take the assessment. And Kirtar, thanks once again for the wonderful session. And we look forward for more sessions from you, which is going to benefit the technology community here.
Sure, Karthik, and thanks a lot for providing me this chance to create the awareness for MITRE attack. And I hope that all the attendees have found this useful information, and they will go back with this information, and they will start digging into MITRE and probably start implementation in near future. in their organization. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot for everybody's time, and thanks Karthik for providing this opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, Kedar.
Okay, cool.